Hello everyone, this is Gene and I'm back with another video. So, given that it's spring and it's Saturday is Catterday, I thought I would start out this video with something positive, which is a picture of RJ. This is actually a picture that I took of him yesterday with my new phone. My old phone died a few weeks ago. I had to get a new one, and so yeah. So this is the first time that I tested the camera, and look how wonderful this picture came out. So I thought I would start the video with some positive, wholesome kitty fan service. So the sound might be a bit it may not be great. I have the window open in the back because I turned off my fans and my air conditioner to record the video, and I overheat very easily, hot-tempered, hot-tempered, hot-blooded. I'm always warm, so I had to do something, so I left the window open, so you might hear some city noises also. Uh, as for some who know, some who don't know, I live with a very sick and disabled family member. I look after them, I take care of them. So they've been having this sort of coughing fit recently. So you also might hear that. You might hear a faint that's not just coming from me. See what I mean? But anyway, I wanted to start out the video on a positive note because I'm going to be covering a video that I saw on Twitter that is originally from TikTok, a very entitled young woman. And I thought it was a very good example of what I believe to be the difference between personal offense and then causing adverse and potentially harmful actions to another person because you are offended. And the line, I guess you could say, right? The line between those two areas, right? Like the saying goes, there's a thin line between love and hate. Well, there's in my opinion, not so thin line, and I think a fairly reasonable and visible line between being offended over something or what someone does and then deciding, because you are offended, that you are going to take adverse actions against them unjustly. So let's get into the video proper. Oh, boy. Alright, so this is the video that I'm talking about. It originated on TikTok, right? And I saw this originally, I think, on Heel versus Babyface. See what I mean? I think I originally saw this on Heel versus Babyface's Twitter timeline, or Twitter account. But this was like the most recent instance I saw in my own timeline, looking back through my tweets and whatnot. Right, so the video is linked in the descriptions, which also are linked are to her TikTok. It seems to be a real, sincere video that she made with all sincerity. I initially thought maybe this was some sort of satire or sarcasm, making fun of entitled individuals, but apparently this is true. She actually made a follow-up video, which is on her TikTok, basically trying to own the people who have left comments on her TikTok and have responded to her saying, well, you've proven my point. I don't really care about her response video. I'm not going to respond to that. I'm going to respond to this video because I believe it is a great example, if sad example, of entitlement, B, gross immaturity for a person who is, I don't know exactly how old she is, but she looks to be well past her teenage years, in her 20s, right? So at this point, she should know better, right? So not only is it a example of entitlement and incredible immaturity on her part, but again also highlights what I view is the difference between taking personal offense over something or what someone does in your presence, and then taking adverse and or harmful actions against them, uh, in particular in a over-the-top or unjust manner because they have offended you in some fashion, right? So the video's in the description. It's only 45 seconds. It's a quick view, but I've transcribed what she said, so I'm going to show what I wrote. I checked it against the video. I do believe it's an accurate transcription of what she wrote. And again, you can always check the video to make sure that I did a good job. But I'm going to read what she said, respond to it, and then continue on. Excuse me. Right, so here's what here's what she says. My grandpa was watching a sexist movie last night, and I asked him to turn it off so I could talk to him about how and why it was sexist and why I didn't want him to watch it in front of me. Well, here's my first response to this. I find it highly interesting as someone who has sat through many hours of testimony over the years of people telling their sides of a story, of reading reports and everything. This, in my opinion, is a very intentional omission, right? For her to state that her grandfather was watching a sexist movie, but she doesn't exactly say in either video. I checked on her TikTok, on this video, and on even her follow-up video. She never mentions what sexist films, what supposedly sexist film her grandfather was watching, right? So, given that she doesn't tell us, no doubt because she doesn't want us to form our own opinion about what grandpa was watching, right? All you can do is assume, right? The definition, right? And the type of films that fall under the label of sexist is completely is subjective, and it can run the gamut from Disney's uh, Cinderella, for example, or the Disney princess films in general, to something like, say, Debbie Does Dallas, right? So, who knows what it was that Grandpa was watching that she was so offended by? She certainly isn't going to tell us, right? Can't allow the people viewing this to form their own opinions on what the movie was, now can we? But anyway, right? So she says here that her granddad was watching a sexist film and she wanted him to turn it off so she could talk to him about how and why it was sexist and how she didn't want him watching it in front of her, right? Because, of course, although she's living in his house, she sets the rules, right? And she can't just wait till the film is over or just, move to a different part of the house, right? She couldn't just go to a different room, which she does later in her little story here. But I find it amazing how she just had to have her way at that moment. She couldn't just wait. She couldn't just remove herself from this, uh, from her perspective, incredibly um, offensive, sexist situation, right? And I think we've all been through it, right? If you have kids or you have siblings with your parents, right? If they watch stuff or play stuff, whatever that you personally don't like, right? Now I will admit, as a kid, it was much more difficult for me to sort of get out of the situation because you're living with your family, right? Especially growing up in the '90s, right? Only like one, two TVs in the house, right? And only one of them's got the video game system, and if you try to go online and dial up and all this other stuff, right? If somebody was claiming something that you wanted, the TV, the video game system, the CD player, the dial-up internet, the computer, you were kind of out of luck, right? When it came to what others were doing. I think we all had that experience of watching something or playing something or listening to something that we personally don't like or enjoy because the other person is doing it, and we can't tell them to stop, right? It's your older sibling, or it's your father or your mother or whatever. 1 second, please. As I was saying, we've all been there, right? Sort of stuck watching or listening to something someone else is doing, even if we personally are not terribly interested or perhaps even offended. Now, I would imagine that perhaps this happens less so now in the modern day because everybody has, or so many people, not everybody, but a lot of people, especially a lot of young people, have, personal devices like a laptop, or they have their phones, or they have, some sort of tablet, or there's multiple TVs and multiple computers in a home, and then of course there's like handheld gaming systems. So I would imagine that this is maybe not so common in the modern day, but I certainly remember as a child, you know, small cramped home, you kind of do as the Romans do, or rather you kind of play what the Romans play, and you watch what the Romans watch, right? But it just amazes me how she didn't just think to just remove herself from the situation if she found it so offensive. Moving on, right? So then she says, he told me that I shouldn't be so upset about other people's actions. He's right, especially when those actions have not caused any harm to you, my dear. Right? And then she continues saying, "Okay, so you know what? I backed his car out of the garage and I'm not going to put it back in." So petty. And here is where she crosses the line between personal offense and then taking adverse harmful actions against a person. She doesn't have to like what her grandfather is watching. She can find it sexist all she wants. I doubt that he was watching something all that bad given her reaction and what she eventually goes on to say about what she did to annoy him. But even if she's correct and he's watching something sincerely sexist and awful, it's still not her place to act out against him and take what is now an adverse action against him. In particular, by doing anything that he does not want done to his property, right? She says, I backed his car out of the garage and I'm not going to put it back in. Honey, that's not your car. It's not your home. It's not your garage. If it had been your own stuff, it would have been fine. Perhaps silly and petty, but fine. But now you are touching his stuff, his property. You are lucky Grandpa didn't call the police on you and accuse you of attempted theft, right? You crossed the line the moment you decided to do something to annoy him, to cause an adverse action toward him by touching his property when he did not give you permission to do so. You're honestly lucky he hasn't taken any legal actions against you, at least any that I know of. But continuing. So, sorry, it's going to be, let me try to minimize this a little bit. So, she says here, as my action, I'm going to leave it out there and I'm going to see if it bothers him. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to play Hot Girl Bummer, and I'm going to play that as loud as I want, whenever I want, at whatever time of day I want. Okay, honey, here's the issue here. First of all, you are not Wolverine. You cannot do as you want to do and go where you want to go. Or you can't go, I go where I want to go. Okay? That's not how this works. Playing music so loud that it annoys other people is called a noise complaint, which would get the police involved. And I doubt that you want that. And again, this just speaks to the petty nature, which she admitted to in the other page, right? And again, shows the, in my opinion, clear difference between being offended at what something is, someone else does, and then deciding you are going to, uh, in a way, harm that other person by now acting out, overtly acting out against them because you are offended. Your personal offense does not give you the right to cause an adverse action upon another person or a harmful action against another person. You have every right to dislike what he watches. You don't have the right to cause a noise complaint to impact his quality of life or to touch his property, right? So then it says, does that affect you? Oh, and now I can't live here, so that's fun. Well, you see, honey, that's called the consequence of your actions, right? People like to say, especially online, if someone's getting canceled, right, that you have the right to say what you want, but you don't have the right to avoid the consequences. Well, that applies here. You decided to act out against him, and he decided to cause an adverse action against you, right? By stating that you can no longer live in his residence because, again, honey, it's his home, his laws, his rules, right? The house rules. You don't have to like them, but you have to abide by them. And if you don't, well, out the door you go, right? I doubt she's paying rent or is paying enough rent where kicking her out would be of any uh, negative impact to the old man. And this is the message I left on Heel versus Babyface's video, right? She doesn't seem to realize or care that her grandpa watching a movie she didn't like doesn't affect her beyond personal offense. She could leave the room. Her deciding to touch and move his property crosses the line. Personal offense does not give anyone the right to act out. And then you see someone about him. One is Captain Frugal. He's like, well, she will be acting out outside now, which is true, right? And the reason I'm covering this particular video outside of my own personal amusement with it is the fact that it reminds me a lot of the push against the video game 6 Days in Fallujah, right? One moment. Excuse me, it's never a dull moment in my home. But anyway, as I was saying, it reminds me, this young woman's actions, or not so young woman, I don't know her age, but this lady's actions against her grandfather, right, because she was personally offended by what he was watching, reminds me of the controversy, which in my opinion is completely off base and unfounded. I made a video about it regarding the video game 6 Games in Fallujah, right? And this argument that it's going to cause gamers to become violent or to hate Arab people or to hate brown people and all this other stuff. And again, I believe that her video highlights one of the main issues that I take with this petition, which, as you can see, if you look in the corner, right, has now increased to over 16, I should say. As of the making of this video, over 16,000 people have signed this petition. So you have 16,000 people who, in my personal opinion, apparently are not capable of critical thinking, who cannot think for themselves, and have decided that a game that, for whatever their reasons, has caused them some level of personal offense, now needs to be canceled because they are offended. Not because anyone's actually been hurt or harmed by this game. The claims in the change.org petition, which has since been amended and changed since the last time I covered this video game. So that's interesting, right? Being able to change a petition after it's gone live. But 16,000 plus people apparently have taken offense to something that hasn't even been released yet. Hasn't even been released yet. No one knows if this is even a good video game, let alone what its themes or what the actions you can take in the game, how they impact gamers, or how they impact people such as Arabs or brown people or whatnot. Now, as I said in the video that I did about a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, there's no findings that I've come across that says that video games make people violent. People have observed that perhaps after playing a violent or aggressive video game, the players might be a bit aggressive for about maybe 15 to 30 minutes. But that's about it. Nothing directly correlating or leading to actual acts of violence just because somebody played or enjoys violent video games. Now, you don't have to like this game. You don't have to like violent video games. That's fine. But there is a difference between not liking it and then trying to get it canceled before it even gets on the shelves, before it's even released, just because you find it offensive. Right? One is your personal opinion. The other is an action you are taking against the work and the people involved. And here's what I found. Let me resize this again. Here is what I found when I revisited the petition. in making this video. This is a new part they added. This was not originally there when I first covered this. At least I don't remember it being there. It says, "We, the undersigned, want the cancellation of the release of 6 Days in Fallujah." So at least they're honest about it. Video game developers and publishers to start taking responsibility and carefully consider the toxic Iraq-related games that they may be working on. Who determines the toxicity? Whether some sort of piece of media is toxic or not is entirely subjective. Who do you trust? Who makes these calls? And whoever makes these calls, is their standard, right? Are their opinions reasonable? I doubt it, personally. An end to the commodification and trivialization of Iraqi death in mainstream media, because the Iraq War was a crime against humanity, not inspiration for entertainment. Well, here's the thing. Sadly, war and violence has always been inspiration for entertainment and for creative mediums of all types. Do you know how many franchises and how many video games and how many uh, movies, TV shows, whatnot have drawn inspiration from World War II? That was certainly an act against humanity on all sides. Yet no one says that you can't make media influenced by or directly about World War II. The Battlefield games have been about World War II. I think the old Call of Duty games at least started out about World War II. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, a lot of first-person shooters of that time were about World War II, some even taking place in the Pacific Theater, right? There's, of course, classic games such as Castle Wolfenstein, where you kill Nazi werewolves. You think that wasn't at least somewhat inspired by the real life Nazis and the events of World War II? You don't get to say what real life wars, tragedies, celebrations, or anything else get to influence a creative work. That's not for you to decide. Now, you can decide to buy the work or to not. That's fine. It's your money, it's your choice. You can decide, hey, I like it or I dislike it. That's fine. That's your choice. That is your personal taste, as is your personal offense. But you don't have the right to, A, more or less lie about the video game, in my opinion, because you have no proof. You have no proof outside of your own personal opinions about what harm this game is going to cause, right? Your opinions are not valid proof. I'm of the opinion that anyone who signed this is out of their effing mind. But, again, I have no proof of that, aside from that they signed this, so apparently they can't think for themselves. Right? So again, as the saying goes, because honestly, let's see here. This is a list of demands from people who will probably never actually buy the game, let alone actually watch playthroughs or whatnot. They'll complain all the live long day about it. They'll try to get it canceled, but they'll never actually put down money, right? And actually purchase it or play it. So as the saying goes, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Don't listen to people who automatically want to cancel you because they are offended. For example, as you may or may not have heard, right? What's his name? Little Nas X or whatever has these sneakers out that are satanic in theme, right? 666. They're like $1,000 a piece or whatever. And he has this music video or whatever where he's like lap dancing on Satan and all this other BS. Okay, he's trying to be edgy for edgy's sake. It's something I've been seeing all of my life with various types of artists, pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable. But do I want Little Nas X canceled? No. He has the right to make offensive art, or rather art that is offensive to me. Naturally, as a Christian, I don't agree with I wouldn't necessarily say he's worshiping Satan, but definitely, I would not agree with the satanic, demonic imagery involved, right? But again, that's his choice. I respect his choice to make something that personally offends me. And I personally decide, I'm not a big rap fan. I don't know who the heck this young man is. I don't like the video. I'm not going to pay $1,000 for a pair of Nike sneakers for anything. I don't care what the design is. So I keep my money to myself. I don't watch the video. But I'm not going to go on a moral religious campaign to get it canceled. That is not my place. My place is to do what is right for me. Not for others, but for me. And for me, the best thing I can do is avoid it with a 10-foot pole. It is not to my taste, as many things are not to my taste. It would be like if I tried to cancel vanilla ice cream because I literally do not like the taste of it. I'm not gonna cancel vanilla ice cream because I don't like it. I just don't eat vanilla ice cream. It's really that simple. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Don't watch it. But don't take adverse, harmful actions against other people. Don't try to cause them annoyance or impact their quality of life, or in the case of 6 days in Fallujah, cause them financial harm because you are offended, right? Because your offense in the end don't mean jack about jack. It's a hill of beans. Why should I? Why should Little Nas X? Why should the people in this game? Why should that young woman's grandfather care about you or me or anyone else being offended? Right? So when it comes to that, that's the message I want to end on. Just let it be. If you don't like it, just avoid it. So long as no one's forcing it upon you, don't force things upon yourself. And I speak as somebody who on occasion tries to talk to others about God. But I can't make you speak to me or agree with me. No, I respect your right to say, hey, I'm not interested. It's fine. That is perfectly fine. I have the right to believe just as you have the right to not believe. Let's just respect each other. You know what I mean? Let's just respect each other. And if we don't like something, just avoid it. Now, I want to end this video on a positive note here, right? Which is kitties! It's Catterday, it's Catterday. And I'm in a good mood, so I figured I would share some pictures of kitties. So this comes from Retro Boy John. Right, his kitty all over his looks like an old school PlayStation. Then we got a PlayStation, looks like an N64. That kitty is adorable. And then we have another one from a itty bitty kitty. And the funny thing is that it says, "What's so funny, kitty?" I'm like, that's not funny. I think that kitty's ready to bite you. That's the way RJ looks whenever he's like tired of me. And he's like, you have gone too far, human. Chomp. And then, of course, because I started the video with RJ, naturally, I have to finish it off with RJ. Look at how adorable he is. I love the purple around him. It's all very regal, right? It's very regal, royalty, and that stuff. But he looks so cute. And again, this is a picture of him that I took yesterday. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are.